Hi, I wanted to take some time in this video to show you how to create a survey on Qualtrics. Now, I'm going to do it on the University of Minnesota's Qualtrics account, but you can use the same general steps for any Qualtrics account that you have. So first, I'm going to go to the browser, and here I'm going to type the URL, which is qualtrics.umn.edu. Next, it's going to ask me for my login information. So this should be your X500 ID. Every student has an account. And then the first screen you'll see will show any projects or surveys that you have already run in Qualtrics. So if this is your first one, you won't have anything there. Otherwise, it'll show ones you have, maybe in collaboration with other people. So I'm going to show you how to create a new one. So I'm going to click Create a New Project. And the type that I want to do is a survey. So I'm going to click Survey. And then we're going to do just a blank one from scratch. So I'm going to say Get Started. And so here I can type the name of my survey. This is just for my own reference. So I'll just call it Demo Survey. And then it asks, how do you want to start your survey? And here you can either do a blank survey, which is what I'm going to show, or you may have one from another project that you've done. So then you click Create Project. So now we have the blank survey that it has created for us, the template. So one of the first things I like to do with a survey is to remove any branding, especially if I don't want the people to know where the survey is coming from or whom I associated with. So for that, we can go over here to the look and feel. And it has a number of things we can change. I'm going to change the theme or the layout. And so what I'm going to use, because I don't want them to know that I'm associated with the university, is just a blank format. So it won't tell them anything about where I am. Your company may have other themes that they want you to use. And I'll click Apply. So next I'm going to start adding the questions to my survey. And so the first one I'm going to do is just start with the survey information to tell the person a little bit about what the survey is doing and what it's about. So I'm going to go over to the builder now, since I'm done with the look and feel. And it starts with one question for me. That's the default one. Where I can, it starts with a multiple choice question. But what I like to do is the first page is just give a description of the survey. So I'm going to change the question type to be a text or graphic. And I'm just going to put some text here. So for mine, I'm going to do a sample one. Let's do one on a dog owner survey. And what I'm going to ask about is say this study asks about your dog and how you board it overnight. And then I like to say the length of time it takes to. So I'll put, it takes about 5 minutes to complete. So now the person kind of knows what they're getting into with the survey. And you might have other information you want there, but that's enough for what I want for today. So that'll be my first page. And then what I like to do in the second page, right, is to give them a little more introduction about what they're going to do. So to create the second page, I'm going to add a block. And now we'll notice down here, we have a space here, so we can start adding stuff. And so I'm going to add a new question in my new block. And again, this is just going to be a text or graphic, just information about the study. So I can click to put any text I want. And here I'm going to put introduction. This survey will ask you what is important to you for dog boarding, so they know what I care about, as well as your typical behaviors. So at the end of the survey, I often ask about the person and things they do. And then I also like to tell them that there are no right or wrong answers, that we are interested in your opinions to help us improve dog boarding. It's also nice too to tell them why you're doing the survey, so they can feel like that there's a reason and a contribution that they're making, right? And so then I like to also will emphasize there again, there are no right or wrong answers. And again, I tell them one more time, this survey takes about 5 minutes to complete. So again, they don't get nervous about how long it's going to take, or if the survey is ending, or anything of that nature. So I can click anywhere else, and that will save that question there now. So now I want to get into the content of my survey, now that I told the person what the survey is about. So I'll add another block. And for this block, I'm going to show two types of questions that are very common. But as you'll see with Qualtrics, there's lots of different questions you can do. The first one I'm going to add is called a matrix table. And it lets people rate a series of different questions. So for this one, I'll just ask, how important are the following factors when you choose where to board your dog? And presumably I would have talked to customers to figure out what people generally care about. And so maybe I found out that location was important, that price was important, maybe having an open play area was important, and whatever else that people told me I would want to put in there. So those are the three questions that I'm going to ask here. Now we want to format our question maybe a bit. So one thing Qualtrics does by default is it labels every single point on the question. I'm not a big fan of that, one, because it forces people to read all that text, and I'm not sure they really do. And two, it makes it critical that I get that wording exactly right, because I want people to think of these as equally spaced. So instead, what I'll often do is just change these to blanks. So I'm going to change a couple things on this question. So when I click on that button, I can now see that I have some options for my matrix table. And what I want to change is two things I'm going to change. One, I want to increase the number of scale points I have. I work with 5 points that a 4 isn't really a clear answer of whether it's really important or not. It's only one from the midpoint, but only one from the most. So I like to have scales with at least 7. So if I do that, I can now get to 7. And then what I'm going to do is now fix these labels over here. So what I like to do is for all the middle ones, just make them blank. And here I actually hit a space bar. So there is a space there to show, but it won't appear on the screen. And then here I'll put extremely important, maybe are my labels. So I've not at all important and extremely important, and they'll rate each of those on the scales for that. And then next, I also want to force people to answer the question. I don't want missing data. So Qualtrics lets me easily do that. So if I scroll down here, it has some about response requirements. So I can do add requirements, and there's force response. You can also do request response if you just want to tell people it's missing. I like to force it just so I get that answer. Of course, I don't force everything. If it's sensitive information, like maybe income or something, I won't force those answers. So now we have that question ready to go. So let's add another question, and I want to put it on a new page as before. So I click add block. This will create a new one down here. And now I can click add new question. And for this one, I'm going to add a slider type, a slider scale. And so very similar process to the other one. I'm going to type the question text. So this time maybe I'll ask, how likely are you to use dog boarding services in the next 3 months? And again, I want to fix my scale labels here. So again, I like to have nothing on the middle ones. So I'll make those spaces again. And extremely unlikely, extremely likely seems fine, right? I'm going to add my requirement again that it be a forced answer. So I do the forced response. So I now have that part. And then I'm done with that one. So now I'm going to add whatever other content I might have in my survey. You can add as many questions as you need. And once I've added all the content questions and finished those, I need to finish my survey. So what I like to do at the end of my survey is I'm going to add a new question. And for this one, I'm going to add text entry, because I'm going to ask people if they had any kind of problems with the survey or any comments or anything else I might have missed. So I might say here, if you have any comments about the study, please list them below. And then I give them some idea of what these could include. These comments could include anything you had trouble understanding. So maybe if anything was unclear to them, we can find out this way. Any items that were unclear, maybe that didn't work. Guesses of the study's purpose. Sometimes I'll ask that to see if they knew what I was doing, especially if there's something maybe I was manipulating or changing for people, right? So there's my text for that question. Now for this one, what I want to do is, I don't want just a single line of response. They may want to type more. So I can change this to an essay text box. And now with an essay text box, I can make this a little bigger. So it shows them, oh, I want you to actually type a few things in there. And that's fine to do that, right? And now I have my last page of my survey. Now Qualtrics puts a default one here for you, but I want to change that. I want this to look a little bit different. So I'm going to click on that last question because I want to show the example of where you're doing a study, let's say on MTurk, and you need to give the person their code to enter at MTurk. So you do a custom type, and then we can do my library, and a new message, because I'm going to do my own type. So I do my type, because that's the one that I want to do custom. And maybe I'll call it MTurk code. Right? And so now what I can do is type what I want. So I'll say, thank you. You have completed the survey. So I want them to know that it's done now. They don't need to do anything else. It's not always clear. And now give them the code for MTurk. So here is your completion code to enter on MTurk. And here what I often will do is just put the same digits for everyone. So 6-digit number they'll enter. I have played with changing that for each person, and I don't find massive amounts of fraud of people entering the number that didn't actually complete it. And so this will now let them enter that, and they're finished once they have done that. So now I can save that. So at that point, the people will know they finished, and they can enter their code to complete it. So now once you have your survey like you want it, we can now preview it. Before we launch it, we want to make sure it looks right. And so I do the preview, and I look at the first page. Everything looks fine here. Pretty simple. Here's the second page. Now we tell them about the survey. Looks fine here. Here's our first question about how important these different factors are. That one looks fine as well. Oh, here you can see it actually forces me to enter the responses, as it should. So that's working well. Now we ask how likely they are to use the services. And here I actually have a problem. I didn't notice that it has this extra text here, right, that I didn't want. It's click to write choice 1. And actually there's multiple choices there, which I didn't want because I just have one question. So I'm going to fix that. So I close the preview. So I go to that question and my survey. And so it looks like it's right here. So if I click in there, it'll now let me edit it. So the first thing I want to do is I only want to have one statement, one response. And then where it says click to write the text there, I'm going to put a spacebar. So now it'll look empty like I want. So now if we preview it, we can skip these pages since we already looked at those. We have to enter our responses here. Now that looks right, like we want. Here's our comment box, so we can type, I had no problems. Put that. And then here's my final page that tells me the code and how to complete the survey to get paid. You also may want to format this page as well, make the font a little bigger. Sometimes I'll put the code in a different color just to make it really obvious. So at this point, our survey's ready to go. We've got everything in order. So now we can publish it. And so when you click publish, it does a check of the survey. So here it says fair. It actually often doesn't like the slider and matrix table questions for mobile phones, but that's fine to have that warning. That's nothing you've done wrong when you look through those. And you can always look to see what other recommendations it may have. I'm going to go ahead and publish this one. And so what this is going to do is now create the survey, and it's given me a URL. So this is now the URL, and I can copy it if I want, that I can post on MTurk to tell people to come take my survey. or if I've used a email list vendor, when I send the emails out to tell them about my survey, again, this is the URL that I want to have people click. And then when they come to this URL, they'll complete the survey and the data will get captured by Qualtrics. In case you forget it and don't have it on that screen, the URL, you can also get it from here. So if you go to distributions, and if I click anonymous link, and then it will show me, again, there's the survey link once again, in case I need it. And generally, for the most part, I leave most of the other survey options set to the default setting. So then once someone has completed your survey, right, and so let's look at that. So let's copy the survey link. So now we'll go over and we'll take the survey really quickly, so there'll be some data. So I'm just going to skip quickly through these since we know what that text says. I'll just put some data here. Just click in the middle for that. Great survey. I didn't have any issues. And there's my enter code. So now I have the data completed for that survey. So once we've gotten all of our data in, to get our data out of Qualtrics, we go to Data and Analysis. And then I can click Export and Import, and I want to export data. And what I find works well with this data, I generally choose a tab-separated file that I can then import into Excel. And one important thing you want to change for your scales, you want the data to have the numerical values in it, so that when you do the analysis, it treats it like a number for the scale responses. And so make sure you click that Use Numeric Values option, and then click Download. And that will save the file to wherever your download directory is. And then you can then open that file and analyze it in Excel or whatever you choose for your analysis. So hopefully this helps get you started on creating Qualtrics surveys. I think once you learn to use the tool, it has a lot of power, and you can do pretty much any survey that you're going to want to do with all the question types and such that it has. So good luck with that.